Always got to talk Dodgers, and we'll go here to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hey, with Freddie Freeman being day-to-day right now and Muncy's still out, do you see my Dodgers adding a bat and also a possible reliever for the pen and add both at the trade deadline?
Casey, we just talked about that in our segment. The one thing that the Dodgers have that the Padres don't. Dodgers got enormous depth of pitching. They could trade from AAA Oklahoma City. Now, if you're going to trade Bobby Miller or trade Emmett Sheehan, who's up right now, has pitched okay. If you're going to trade Robleski, the left-hander, who's pitched up here a couple of times and pitched okay. Or if you're going to trade anybody in the lower minors, and they got a load of AA players, outfielders notably, they got depth, whereas the Padres don't. So, yeah, I think item one is make a deal for a closer because that's become very untrustworthy right now. Clase is available out of Cleveland. There are a couple other relievers available. Because you're going to have to give up something as significant. I mean, you may have to give up Bobby Miller for Clase, who's a walk free agent, I think, at the end of the season. But you're going to have to give up something. So that, in terms of third base, Arenado is awful costly. He's got $24 million more on next year's contract in addition to the about $12 million that he's owed this year. So, how much more money can they take? Because they are so high right now on the luxury tax. It's ridiculous. The number I was told over the weekend, their total payroll and tax number is $408 million. They owe $151 million to Major League Baseball on tax already. You bring on Arenado, that goes on top of what they already owe. So it's real significant. I think there's at least one significant Dodger deal coming. Your turn.
They got Tommy Edman was playing some third base.
He's hurt. He's in and out of the lineup, and he's hurt, and he's not playing very well.
That guy is so versatile, though.
Exactly.
I mean, you can put him anywhere.
And that's another one of the name that's not playing well. He's got a toe injury that just is not going away. So you got Freddie, who's not playing well and hurt. Edman is beat up. Mookie has stopped hitting. They think he's lost his bat speed. There is no Muncy. And Ohtani's hitting a $189 since June 1st or July 1st. So, I mean, they got a bunch of problems.
I mean, you could make a deal here or a deal there, get an arm for the bullpen. But if Mookie and Freddie and Shohei Ohtani are not playing normal, those top three guys in that batting order, that's a whole different team.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like Ohtani, you're probably saying, distracted by some of the pitching, working his way back. I sort of understand that. Freddie with the unfortunate hit by pitch, I get that. But the Mookie thing is weird. I mean, because when was that illness that he lost all that
training,
weight?
He went to Japan. He couldn't play. He lost 20 pounds.
So he probably has never recovered from that, right?
Well, they say he's recovered in terms of putting the weight back, but his bat speed has gone away. He had about 2.5 weeks where Mookie looked like Mookie, and then he stopped hitting again. And now, I mean, they've done investigative stuff that I've read that his bat speed has just totally gone away. And bat speed is normally, that's a sure sign of age. And he's not 35 years of age where you think, well, he's got a back problem and his bat speed's gone. But boy, he's not making contact at all.
Yeah. I mean, so they got it was kind of like the Padres. They need their stars to be stars,
yep.
And they're not performing at that level. But the Dodgers, they always make a deal at the deadline and they always get the
Max Scherzers of the world, the Jack Flaherty's of the world.
And they end up not giving away their A-list prospects. Oh, something like that's going to happen again. It's just Dodgers.
And they do have a lot of A-list prospects.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay, Casey, thanks for being with us. Hope you tell a friend. Join us again. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to the practicing guitarist. Hey, is Manny Machado truly a leader that can lead when it matters? He's a career .215 hitter in the postseason, and he hit .190 in the 2024 NLDS. And why does the local media not hold him accountable?
Well, the only local media is really the San Diego Union Tribune and everything that they write. And Manny's had a really good season, but everything they write's a little overbearing. To me, it's a little too much of this all the time. I mean, when he had that bad stretch, there just was not a lot written about why are you hitting 190. But he's had, in the big picture, he's rock solid. And I like him because he's a baller. He plays all the time. You can't get him out of the lineup. But, there is a media love affair between the UT and some of their stars. I mean, nobody's made a big thing about how horrible Tatis was for a long chunk of this season. So, the media's got a responsibility to ask some hardball questions here. And I don't see it from the UT very often. Sports Talk Radio's that's a whole different enchilada. The Padre flagship station, they've been told you can't say anything negative about the team, which means you blew your credibility with me. You have to ask the hard questions. Not that you beat up the player. It's a hard game, but you have to ask some of the hard questions. So that's where we are. That's my perception of Padres media. And John Riley says
Machado's a leader. I mean, he's grown up. I mean,
he's different.
He's different, but he's not a typical kind of a leader. You need other kinds of guys there that also have leadership capabilities.
He's not a firebrand.
Well, yeah, and he does have, sometimes there's a little cloud over Machado. I mean, that's why Joe Musgrove is so important to have there with the team, and it's great that he's still traveling with the team.
Stand-up guy.
Totally. So I think when you have Machado as one of the Mount Rushmore guys on the team, then it works. But if Machado is expected to be, the captain like Derek Jeter, I mean, I don't see that working.
I don't think he's a flag carrier.
No, he's not. He's a different kind. He leads by example. He's just kind of has his own way about it. But, it's interesting you talk about how the UT, is maybe not as hard hitting. But, that's Kevin Acee, the writer there. And I remember Kevin used to get a lot of criticism when he was the beat writer for the Chargers, that he wasn't too heavy with his criticism. Do you think maybe this is his style of writing, not to be excessively critical, or is he trying to maintain good relationships?
What's different is the Union Tribune has really downsized everything. What the difference is, you have a beat writer that's there doing nuts and bolts. Kevin writes a ton. I've never seen a guy that writes as much as he writes, and credit to him to be creative and resourceful, to do a lot of different angles to stories. But it's not necessarily his place just to stand in somebody's face every time and ask the pointed question. But with the UT, they don't have and have not had it for a while. You need a hard-ass columnist that's going to write pointed, opinionated things, and they don't have any of that, rather than cheerleaders. Now, columnists don't have to be hard asses all the time. You can write great stuff, creative stuff, fun-loving stuff, complimentary stuff, but you got to stand there sometimes and ask them real hardball questions. They don't have that because they don't have the staff anymore, because they've downsized everything, and every freaking newspaper in the world has absolutely done the same thing. So I don't know where the print journalism is going. If the guys that cover the UT, they all do a really good job, but Kevin has a style and he has a volume of responsibility because he writes just a ton. And Jeff Sanders predominantly does a lot of the minor league stuff, and I think he does a really fine job. AJ Casabell covers the Padres for MLB.com, but I think there's restrictions in terms of how deep he can go with opinions, etc. I don't see any of that coming from him. The unique one is Dennis Lin, who writes for The Athletic, used to work for the UT. I think he does a real good job at digging, and he will write some pointed stuff along the way. But I don't know how many people in San Diego subscribe to the Athletic website, but they got guys on every major league team and every major sport that write a lot more long, in-depth stuff, and they don't have to worry about the damn deadlines, etc. So it's just a different era. I just think that there's got to be somebody on your staff that's going to ask the really pointed questions, like talk show radio. You don't all have to be cheerleaders. Sometimes you can have a guy that's going to stand up and say, AJ, this is what you did, and I'm holding you accountable for what you did. Or ownership, this is what you have not done. I'm holding you accountable for what you're not. And you say it and you talk about it. It's not an attack. It's just a statement of truth, reality. Okay, I'm done with my sermon, but if I were king, that's what I would want.
We got to get in there and do the live stream from the Padre clubhouse, man. Can you imagine? That'd be fun. I'll give credit, like Ben and Woods, they'll go out to spring training and talk to the guys. But again, that's,
it's all sing-song.
A little bit, yeah. But, there's other reporters, like Marty Caswell does a great job getting that video footage in the clubhouse. Good on her. And then, we lost our guy, Scott Miller, who would do articles in the UT. And then there's the other guy, what's his name?
Krasovic. He's become their columnist. He's all over the place doing an awful lot. But the UT has just changed. I'm disappointed because UT does virtually nothing about the NFL. Should have an NFL strong-willed guy who covers storylines, even though we don't have a franchise. Do nothing in the NBA. Do nothing really on hockey. They ignore the goals. They've gone crazy. This bothers me. They've turned the UT into Soccer America. Column after column after story and column inches on SDFC and on San Diego Wave to the point they're ignoring a whole bunch of other really important things just so they cover local soccer, local soccer. Can't be, it should not be Soccer America. No problem with the game stories and features, but it's just constant.
Well, they're latching on to that. They probably figure, hey, this is one category where we can be dominant. I mean, that's what I'm guessing.
How important is it?
But is Nick Canepa still writing for them?
Once a week. He's in retirement and he writes once a week. And what they've done is they laid off a whole bunch of guys and they brought them back just as freelancers. Bill Center writes auto racing and horse racing. I think he's a really complete guy, but he's not a beat guy any longer. And Donnie Norcross does high school stuff, and John Maffey does a phenomenal job in high school from kind of a 1.5 man gang covering high school sports for the UT. But the paper's just kind of gone in a different direction.
Now, I want to ask you, as a sports journalist, what sports or which communication medium do you enjoy the most? Is it 690 Talk Radio? Is it television like you do for KUSI? Is it this podcast? Is it the writing you do on your website? Is it the social media stuff you do? What's the best for you?
I love sitting and researching storylines and networking with people in other markets. I do that all day, every day. And I have a email list of guys in other places I'll send stuff to and ask questions, and they'll send me stuff back that they've written, et cetera, because a lot of stuff is now behind paywalls, and I can't pay for everything. So I swap out information on the Pac-12 or on other NFL teams or stuff, hockey friends and things of that nature. So I enjoy gathering information, which is why, the practicing guitarist is a long answer to your question, but that is why we cover a lot of diverse things, different topics on the table, because I'm interested in different topics on the table. And I'm sure John Q. Fan is interested in a whole bunch of different things. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, you're like a curator, but you're also a content creator. Got a lot going on. Here's a similar question, a little bit of a tangent. And this is from Callan. He goes, hey, afternoon, gents. Let's say you were starting a new San Diego SoCal sports talk station. Give me your on-air lineup. Who's going to get the call to join your team?
Hacksaw, Coach Quintera, Scott Kaplan. That'd be a start. Obviously, to have some network connections. If I could reinvent something like 690, 1090 with some of the people, maybe you can. But the problem is just the economics of launching something new in a market in where the advertising community has cratered. It's just not the same advertising market. Understand, if you're doing round-the-clock sports talk radio with name personalities, with proven commodities, that's a big investment in talent. And this format is very talent intensive if you're going to do it right. That's why when you go through the roster of sports talk stations that are now operating, very few local shows, awful lot of syndication, and a whole pile of young board ops that have been given a chance to be on the air that are, quote, fillers. So it's a different era. But there's a bunch of us out there that thought, hey, maybe we could still work and still have a chance to do it, and we're still pretty good. And there's an awful lot of credibility walking through the front door, but you got to have ownership with deep pockets. And again, the advertising marketplace is so different now, and it's dropped so badly. It's really hard to finance it. I found out that some of the layoffs at some of the TV stations, some of the sports guys I knew are gone just because they got wiped out as they were cutting back on news personnel and sports personnel, et cetera. So it's just a very different era in the medium.
Yeah. I still think, though, there is an opportunity. If let's just say we had unlimited time and some extra resources, not a whole lot of extra resources. There's so much quality sports talk talent that's just out there, that aren't working, that we could build like a network, but just do it all online. This is where all the listening is going. This is where all the podcasting, the video. There's, I think, a business model for that.
Well, there's a business model. Some people have said you ought to be on every day. And somebody had proposed to me, do something called Hacksaw at high noon. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but that means I'm working every day of the week, say Monday through Friday, doing sports on live stream for 2 hours a day. That means all this time on research. That means all this time producing, maybe to go get guests or however you structure the podcast. And how am I getting paid?
But see, this is the deal. You and I have had this discussion, sort of off the air, but the financial model is different. I mean, we're fortunate that we have Dixieline as a sponsor, but it's not like a podcast is going to have a lot of big marquee names backing them. The way you have to do it is have to make it crowdfunded, and that's the beauty of what we do here on YouTube with YouTube Super Chat. People can throw money and ask questions and attach a dollar bill to it. And there's other things that we can do. And I think we need to explore it. We're just so damn busy creating content. But you already do the research. As you said, you're working with your contacts around America. You're already doing this research 24/7 every day of the week. Is that you live it?
I do too. But to do 2 hours live every day on top of all the research and to have no money coming in the door.
No, we have to figure out a way to get, to make it worth your while.
You got deep pockets. You live in a castle up here on a hill. So, I mean, you just hire me. And I mean, there are concepts out there because I've talked to Scott Kaplan, who I'm friends with. I talked to Coach Quintera. I said, what do you think about trying something like that? But it always comes back to, you're going to pour your guts into this and do it the way you want to do it or the way you're used to do it. But where's your revenue coming from?
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing is the model's different.
Yeah.
The model's different. You can't, it's not like radio where you're going to get like some auto dealership and, a bunch of traditional advertising media like that. It has to be from multiple, like you have to have like 5 to 8 different revenue streams.
We should probably do an experiment. Maybe we'll do a special Friday show in which the Insiders Group fans can participate in a special Friday podcast for a fixed subscription fee. Maybe, and we'll just see if that works.
That's one of many different options to generate revenue. Yeah, but you got to do it through we have to sell merch. We'd have to do a lot of different things. We're making a little bit of money on the YouTube viewership, but there is a way. There is a way. You may not be the king of the world like you used to be in the 1990s, especially doing the play-by-play, but I think we can make it worth your while.
Callum just touched a nerve. So Callum, we will give you our private phone numbers so you can call our wives because you will have to sales pitch them that you're stealing us so we could do sports talk podcast every day of the week. Holy cow. Would there be a reaction to that? In my house, in your house.
Well, look at this. I mean, here's just a bunch of quick comments on what we were just discussing. Jim T 690 was great. ESPN Radio hogs the airwaves. Hey, great question. Great answer. Absolutely, John. It can be done. According to one Mr. Smith, got to build a following first. And yeah, I mean, we already have over 8,000 subscribers on YouTube and that's growing.
Okay.
There's a way to do it.
You hit a nerve here. Okay. I don't need more work, and I'm working so much right now.
You do work.
Okay. Hey, thank you for the input. John, let's run through a few more here before we run out of time.
Okay. Before we run out of time. And there was a lot of conversation here about the whole Trump thing. So let's see if we can get some of that in here.
Do we have to?
Yeah. Do we have to? Well, there's a number of different comments from different angles. Here's John. And he says, hey, while I get that you don't like Trump, he's kind of preaching to the choir in D.C. 99% of Washington fans want the team to return to their old nickname.
I concur. And, the decision that was made, and it infuriated Cleveland Indian fan when they became the Cleveland Guardians. And I don't know any of my friends in Cleveland that refer to them as the Guardians or bought any Guardians gear. I still got friends, and I still have my Chief Wahoo t-shirt. I just didn't understand nor accept, quote, politically correct. We got to get rid of Chief Wahoo. We got to get rid of the historic Redskins logo, etc. Now, I understood there were some schools, some universities who had logos. Syracuse was one. And they got rid of the Indian because it looked like it was a drunk Indian as their logo. And they made, they got Mr. Orange, and that became their name, and they won in basketball, etc. But there were some logos that had to be addressed because they didn't look correct and were not politically correct. But now it's different. And so I don't have an answer for it. I wish it was still the Redskins. I surely wish it was the Cleveland Indians. Hell, I'm going to wear my Chief Wahoo shirt one day. You'll get a kick out of that. But politically correct at that point kind of carried the day during the Obama era. I have a problem with the White House. I have a problem with everything that's being done because it's unconstitutional. I think it's unethical, and you got enough problems you've created over at the White House. You don't need to be putting your 2 cents in as it relates to the nickname of the Washington NFL franchise.
Okay, well, here's a couple more comments on this. This is from Joe. He says, hey, the government had nothing to do with the commander's name. It was a business decision.
Sure, it was a politically correct decision.
Yeah.
In Cleveland, the undercurrent of the rumor was that the Dolan family was told, if you change the name, we will award you an all-star game. And they did. And they announced Cleveland Guardians. And there's a historical background why the Guardians. But like I say, fans never accepted it. And to this day, they still don't accept it. So
it's just interesting because I know obviously the Redskins name goes way back.
sure.
They've won multiple Super Bowls as the Redskins.
The Redskins are the Boston Redskins that moved in 1936 to Washington.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I
Mhm.
didn't know there was a Boston Redskins.
The problem is they were owned by George Marshall, who was a racist.
Oh,
And
interesting.
there's a little linkage there too.
Oh, maybe that had something to do with the original name too. So I don't know. To me, yeah, it seemed like there was public pressure from certain groups in America,
Politically correct.
yeah,
and
not
everything.
necessarily Washington fans,
Yeah.
that felt the name should be changed. And I always kind of thought if you were going to change any name, that's the one to change. But I worry, like if this politically correct thing goes further and further with this, who's next? The Braves, the Chiefs, the Padres, and the Aztecs have got to be looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
That man on Pennsylvania Avenue, he's got bigger problems than the
Well-
Washington Redskins nickname. He's got Epstein and he's got all this other history of stuff.
Yeah, but the whole thing, the whole reason Trump's bringing this up is not because he really cares about the football team.
Distraction.
It's creating a distraction.
This bleeping distraction is not going away.
Yeah, well, yeah. And he's always pushing buttons and he just tries to get everybody fired up and it's just his shtick. Flood the zone, man.
And I do that and I get so much heat. It's unbelievable.
Well,
Okay, we move on. Thank you for the input.
Here's one last comment on this, and it says, keep the government out of sports. That statement is hypocritical.
The whole thing is hypocrisy involving that person.
Well, it is interesting how so much American culture and American values are blended into sports. You got the national anthem, you got the flyovers, you got the American flag covering the whole
But
outfield.
that's Americanism at its best.
Yeah, but the point, I guess, and I agree with the one Mr. Smith here, is that there is already a lot of political linkage and either government influence, but not necessarily government mandates. Trump is not mandating it. He's just applying pressure, right?
Oh, he'll probably write a freaking executive order, which will be unconstitutional like all the other executive orders he's written. Well, I mean, the fact he threatened them, we're going to block all the federal funding for the new football stadium that the District of Columbia has already kind of worked through with the ownership.
Freaking Trump. He's still angry at the NFL for not letting him be an owner.
Can you understand why?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go here to Showtime LA. He goes, hey, I think the Dodgers need to turn a corner outfielder to replace Conforto and a reliever. Could Clase and Duran actually be traded? Hey, thanks, Hacksaw. You were one of the good ones.
Duran would, I have not thought about Duran. He would be a good acquisition. The problem is Conforto's got, I think it's a 4-year contract. They signed him to, I think it's $17 million a season. And I never thought he was worth $17 million a year to begin with, the ex-Giant, ex-Yankee, but they're kind of on the hook for that. And I don't think he's real tradable right now. But they do have resources to go get Clase out of Cleveland. They got resources if they wanted to get Duran from Boston. That's the thing is the Dodgers, if you do a hot list of Dodger prospects, I swear to you, they probably got 7 or 8 that are a AAA or AA that are putting up really legitimate numbers and are viewed as legitimate Major League prospects. So they've got resources to make the right transaction right now. They just have to decide which closer, what price, and then is there somebody else they want to go get?
Yeah, I mean, they have more minor league assets that are tradable than most MLB teams.
They don't make mistakes in the draft.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting, though. You still see a lot of Dodgers kind of scattered about, and some
Well, what they do is they have this massive numbers of prospects. And you alluded to earlier in the podcast, and rightfully so. They've never traded away a stud. Now, they've traded away prospect names, but the prospect names have gone somewhere else and haven't panned out. Mike Bush was with the Cubs.
Yeah.
Power hitting first baseman. He's done pretty well. But that's the kind of guy they traded. But there was no room for him. He was stuck behind Freddie Freeman, and they had Dalton Rushing that they could convert to first base. So they used Bush in a trade with the Chicago Cubs. But those are the kind of guys that they've moved other places and Have they panned out? Cody Bellinger's having a really good season with the Yankees, but prior to that with the Cubs, he had 2 crappy seasons.
Yeah, well, Bellinger was always up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the Dodgers realized they couldn't count on him. And Gavin Lux is another guy.
Yeah, he's had spurts. He's played well in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I think he's out in left field now. So it seems like, when Dodger management figures out that this player isn't exactly what we want, then that's when they trade him.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on. A couple more here.
Okay, and let's go here to Aztec Mike. Oh, we got something good to say. He goes, hey, I've been a Aztec season ticket holder for 35 years, and they are 50-plus year season ticket holders, and you say no fan? How about no media? I didn't see you at the Mountain West Media Days. This is a bandwagon town, and Bud Black years for the Padres drew only 5,000 fans.
Well, in terms of, I'm not going to Las Vegas Media Days because I'd have to pay all the money myself. Why would I do that? What I want is access on a day-by-day basis with San Diego State. And it's great you're a 35-year alum that supports the program. But there's nobody in the community excited about Aztec football right now. And there is no alumni support. Yes, are there Aztecs for life who still come? There sure are. In massive numbers? No. San Diego State's alumni people, and I know them, they come in, well, we have 150,000 alums. I said, well, they're not coming to football games. They're not supporting. And the shocker, you can buy, get this, John, you can buy a season ticket for Aztec football on the upper deck at Snapdragon for $200 a ticket for the whole season, $200, and you make one small contribution to the Aztec Club. You have to pay a little fee on the side as a way to support the program for $200. So if you and the wife, so it's $400 for a whole football season to see 6 or 7 home games. Aztec for Life already been doing that. Now, granted, the 50-yard line seat is ridiculously priced. So, Mike, I'm not denouncing you because you're an alum. Hell, I'm an alum. Ohio University. I give them all kinds of money to the athletic program, and I haven't been there in 40 years, except to visit. So there's nothing wrong with those who are supporting. There's just not enough. And when you're telling me there's 150,000 alums in San Diego County, where the hell are they? They're not supporting the program. Football program desperately needs fans in the stands. And at $200 a ticket for a whole season? God, that's cheap.
It is, and Aztec Mike, by the way, this dude bleeds black and red.
That's great.
He's hardcore. He was, sending me direct messages. Hey, you going to the Mountain West Media Days? And I was thinking, man, it'd be cool to go to that. I know you guys.
I've been there.
Yeah, you've been to these things, and the Super Bowl Media Days, all these things for journalism. But it doesn't seem like the Aztecs are welcoming the media.
They're not creative enough. I think they've done just a really poor job. I think they've let the football program down. Do you see any energy in this community about Aztec football? And look at this. We just had the stats. What was the record? 106-48 under Rocky and Brady. A lot of energy, a lot of anticipation, proven commodity. What do we have right now? 3-9 and 2 years of roster turnover that is just absolutely stunning.
So here's a question for you. If our podcast had 1,000 subscribers paying $10 a month for the content, would you go out to Vegas for media days?
Maybe,
that's 10,000 a month.
I go a lot of places. I cover stuff on my own. I'm not getting paid to do it, but I go to press conferences. I go to Padres stuff. I've gone to Aztec stuff. I've gone USD stuff. Now, obviously, there's no NFL here to cover any longer, but I'm in the community a lot doing stuff just on my own for my own website and obviously a little bit of this podcast.
Sometimes I like to listen to, the Go Aztecs YouTube channel, and they'll be doing the post-game presser or, some of the previews. And you'll hear your voice in the back of the room because the camera's always focused on Lewis or on Dutcher, but I'll hear you in the back. And it's fantastic that you are still involved.
30-second short story here before I wrap this up. So the first time I met him before we were scheduling, it might have been the first podcast we were going to do. This goes back a group of years. This is the Matt Ariza crisis at San Diego State.
Oh, yeah.
And I had gone to a press conference that day with Brady Hoke and John David Wicker. And that's when the Matt Ariza thing had surfaced. And then it became the burning question, what did you know? When did you know it? Because there's all types of insinuations of a cover-up at SDSU, and I would have never, ever believed that. But that was the press conference. And I swear to you, this is the defining moment that I think has changed everything with football. That was a press conference where John David Wicker and Brady Hoke got up and walked out because they did not want to answer any more questions about the Ariza situation. And they stormed out of the press conference. I was stunned. Anyhow, they came back eventually, half hour later, and sat and answered a few more questions. And they could only talk about certain things. And I understood that. But I came back here because I went right from the press conference to back here. And I might have been the first podcast we ever did.
It was early on, for sure.
Second one. I said, I walked into the castle here. I said, John, you're not going to believe the press conference I just came from. I've never seen anything like these guys walked out. And to me, that was the beginning of the end of Aztec football. I don't think they've been the same football program since that point in time. And then, of course, the Ariza thing got settled and it was messy and all those players got left school. And then Brady obviously lost quarterbacks. And then the world changed with the NIL and the transfer portal. And Brady stepped back and obviously resigned, retired, got fired. And then Sean Lewis came in, and it's been a real bumpy road since that point. But I don't think San Diego State has been the same since that Ariza press conference.
Well, that's correlation versus causation, right? Yeah.
Speak English.
The Matt Ariza incident was obviously awful for the community and for the reputation of the program, but that's not the reason that the season ticket bases declined at Snapdragon Stadium. It just so happened to be along the timeline when we had all the other things going on in the world: NIL, transfer portal, COVID, playing up in LA in the South Bay there for a while.
4-8 football season, then a 3-9 football season.
So the reason that the season ticket base is peeled away is primarily the quality of the product on the field, to a second degree, a little bit of the pricing. Yep. But still, the pricing, like you said, it's not that expensive.
You want to sit in the upper deck, $200 per ticket for a whole season.
Yeah,
and it's your school. Freaking support it. I'm not beating up Aztec Mike, but where are all these people that are chanting Aztec for life? Support the damn program through thick and thin. It's going to come back. That coach has got a good track record and reputation, but I'll tell you, they can't survive with 10,000 people showing up for home football games. That's like Division III football.
Yeah. Well, there is a social media comment that I want to get here because it's kind of a tangent.
Mike, thanks for being with us, man. Stay with us.
Mike's a great guy. So let me see if I can find that particular message. And it was over here, and it was about the Mountain West and about the Pac-12. And here it is. And it's from Surf City Bill. And he says, hey, the poaching fee was a clause the Mountain West imposed on a desperate Oregon State and Washington State when they needed a scheduling agreement for 2024. The Mountain West also charged a combined $14 million for those Oregon State and Washington State games. The Mountain West says a contract is a contract, but can also be argued Oregon State and Washington State signed the agreement under duress.
Concur on both sides, and that's why they had mediation, and why the mediation fell apart and hit a wall, and now it's going back into lawsuit mode. Maybe there'll still be an out-of-court settlement. But when the San Diego States and the Boise's, Surf City, agreed we'll pay an $18 million exit fee, each of them did, that should have taken care of it. And then for the Mountain West to tack on and bill the Pac-12, $10 million per poaching fee every time you take somebody, and they wound up being 5 schools that left. So it's really messy. It's a bitter divorce. At the end of the day, they're both crippled. I'm sorry. The new Pac-12 looks like Mountain West 2. And I'll tell you, the Mountain West with what's left behind, I feel bad for my friends at Wyoming. My goodness. I mean, this is like a freaking 1AA conference now. I mean, if you're trying to sales pitch me the Grand Canyon and UC Davis coming in the door is going to make a big difference in the roadmap? No, I don't think so. So, I mean, they've both taken a bullet here. So,
well, the Pac-12 is still an upgrade for the Aztecs, an upgrade for Boise State.
To what?
I mean, number one, the money's more. I mean, the contract for the TV money is more than what they were getting in the Mountain West.
Bump up, but it's
not. But still, that's something, and you have a couple of the leftovers from the Pac-12, and you're distancing yourself from some of the, let's say, less sexy names in the Mountain West. So I think overall it's good for San Diego State. You'd love it to be the old Pac-12, but that was never going to happen. But it is interesting because this whole story is complicated with all
very
these
much.
lawsuits. And I was originally thinking, because they were taking a second bite of the apple. Remember, where they had the
They had the
merger,
exit fee.
the exit fee, and then there was the poaching fee, but now Surf City's saying those were two separate agreements, and both of those contracts should be enforced. So I can buy on that.
But the Pac-12 office is of the opinion that's an antitrust exemption. You're trying to stop us from doing business.
Yeah, what a mess.
It is. It really is. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. Man, we went all over the place.